I'm interested in Islamist penetration in the United States. I noticed that there have been three $20 million gifts, mostly coming from Saudi Arabia. The first was, I think, Georgetown, the second was at Harvard, and I wanted to ask Professor Pipes and Yaron, what does that mean for a place like Harvard that was a Saudi gift of $20 million? How will that affect objective study of Islam, etc.? And then there was a $20 million mosque that is being built, almost completed, in Roxbury, mostly from funds from Saudi Arabia, in which the trustee was Yusuf Qaradawi, who's head of Islamist groups around the world, and whose founder, whose originating infrastructure was called the Islamic Society of Boston, but now just recently it's been taken over, the running has been taken over by the Muslim American Society, and I wondered if you could say something about the Muslim American Society.
The Saudis, I think, are generally underestimated. The men wear these outfits that look strange to us. It's a system that is alien to us. But I think if one looks now at a century's worth of modern Saudi history, which really began in 1903, one sees that the Saudi state has been extraordinarily innovative. For example, royalty has been around forever. But who, other than Saudis, came up with the idea of a royalty that does include a handful of princes and princesses, but thousands of cadet lines and polygamous marriages, so that you have a nomenclatura now of princes in Saudi Arabia. This is something novel. It gives it a power that no one else has ever had. Or dividing the military force between three different groups: the regular army, which defends the boundaries, the tribal army, which defends the monarchy, and the mercenary army that defends the oil fields. This is unique. And also, that's just by way of background, what the Saudis have done is take their three strengths: their ideology, their control of Mecca, Medina, and their money, and turn this into machinery for projecting their influence around the world. Initially, the Muslim majority countries, and now everywhere. In terms of media, in terms of schools, in terms of mosques, in terms of scholarship, in terms of Quran translations, in terms of you name it. Nobody on the outside knows quite how much has been spent on this, but one estimate is something towards $100 billion over the years, or some $5 billion a year. It's an estimate. A substantial amount of money with a goal of exerting influence, of creating television stations, of buying up publishing houses, of promoting the Saudi point of view. Now, the Saudi point of view, or what I would call the monarchical Wahhabism, is different from the Taliban Wahhabism. Taliban Wahhabism is far more rigorous and was pushed aside in the 1920s by the monarchical version, which is more adaptable and more flexible, more accommodating. And indeed, just the last few weeks have seen some remarkable developments where there's been a public performance of Western classical music. The king has called for Jewish, Christian, and Muslim theologians to talk to each other. So there's room for a combination there. But overall, over the decades, and specifically since the 1973-74 oil price hike, the Saudis have engaged in a long-term, large-scale effort to influence opinion. And the examples you gave of the gifts to the universities are a small part of that. And to look precisely at that, I think the influence is less on the institutions. I think there are two here and one in Britain, Oxford, that receive these monies. If you look at actually how the $20 million is spent, it's not that not all that interesting. Some of it goes through digitalization of ancient Qurans and so forth. I think the more important impact is on the effect it has on others. That you too can get a $20 million grant if you play by the rules. And so it is a little like ticketing parked cars. You don't have to ticket them all to get the message out that if you park illegally, you'll get a ticket. You just ticket some. You don't have to give $20 million to every university. You give it to a few universities, and the message gets out that there is money there for those who behave. those who don't ask certain questions, those who don't hire certain personnel, those who follow the rules the Saudis would like to implement. And I think those rather modest sums of money have had a very far-reaching impact as such. So it's less on the actual recipients, less to the actual recipients once you look, and more to the broader pool of hopeful recipients that I think this money is most crucial for.
I mean, the one other thing that the money's I think crucial for is just the expansion of the ideology of Wahhabism, which is a crucial element within Islamic totalitarian ideology. I mean, they are spending hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars, exporting Wahhabism all across the world. It's in the U.S., it's in Europe, it's in the Far East. They're exporting this radical form of Islam to Muslims all over the world, and in that sense, I think that money is a real threat. If we are at war, if there's this long-term both military and ideological struggle between us and Islamic totalitarianism, then the Saudis, by funding the expansion of this ideology, have defined themselves, in my view, as an enemy, as an ideological enemy to the United States. And you know, I think we need to acknowledge that and not treat them as you know, in a sense, with silence. We treat them as friendly because we want to have good relations so we can get the oil. And at the same time, we know that all this funding is happening, and some of it's happening openly to universities. But all these mosques, these preachers, the general radicalization is part, in my view, of a much bigger war, much bigger struggle that we're engaged in.
One footnote. In January of 2007, the Foreign Minister of Australia, Alexander Downer, told the Saudis they could not give money to a mosque. It was, I think, a very important step, and I hope one that others will remember that, including our own government.